What is up, you sexy mother hubbards? This is Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. I'm clearly not Graham Hughes. I'm Aid Thompsin. Graham is otherwise engaged, so I'm stepping in for him. Let's take a look at some of the big news stories this morning. First up, the Rwanda bill. Guys, peers inflict fifth defeat on the government over the Rwanda bill. Now, what this defeat says, essentially, is that, look, we are going to agree that Rwanda is a safe country. We're going to agree with you, government, Tories. However, if there is some evidence that is presented that suggests that Rwanda might not be a safe country to send off our refugees, society's most desperate, if that evidence should come to the fore, well, then the process, the policy itself, could grind to a halt. So hugely embarrassing for the government, but, you know, no more embarrassing than a hugely cost-ineffective, sociopathic, mean-spirited, cruel policy was in the first place. So I think what we're learning here, Tories, is that if you don't wish to be embarrassed 5 times in a row, stop creating shitty bills that nobody voted you in to deliver. How about that? The second thing that caught my eye, this is on Sky's Politics Hub, if anybody is interested and they want to go and seek it out. There's a Conservative MP by the name of Paul Scully, and he said this. He said he wants his party to focus on a wider selection of the electorate, including younger people. Does anybody want to tell Paul Scully what percentage of people under the age of 40 are interested in any way of voting Tory? I mean, I don't want to ruin his day or anything, but he says this. He says, if we just focus on our core vote, eventually that core shrinks to nothing. The standard deviation model is true in politics. Most people are in the middle. And he says, this is obviously his soundbite. He's prepared, right? He says, we can work with the bell curve or become the bell ends. Bell curve or bell ends. We need to make that decision. I fear the electorate already has, he says. And then what I love about this is Sophie Ridge, never slow to take up an opportunity to, push a minister or a member of the opposition to just clarify what it is actually that they're saying. Bear in mind, so he's just said, either we address the bell curve or we become the bell ends. Then she asks him if he is saying that the Conservatives are at risk of becoming the bell ends. And he replies, yeah, basically, yeah. I wonder if that's the only time bell end has been said in a political interview, like a mainstream political interview. Do you think it is? And obviously I'm a big fan of using the word bell end, in this context. But I think what's interesting about it is that he is alluding to the fact that gradually, year on year, parliamentary term by parliamentary term, the vote share of people who would have or previously have turned Conservative, that number is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And the reason that that's getting smaller is because typically, I mean, I've talked about this on like Labour Social on like the Friday night before, but the reason that that number is getting smaller is because the age that people get on the ladder is getting older and older. And when people don't have a stake in society, it's almost like they've got nothing left to lose, right? They want progressive policies. They want left-leaning ideals, vision, and radical change. Traditionally, it's when you get on the ladder and you just want a bit of financial stability. Well, I mean, I'm all in favour of radical policies, but just nothing too crazy, all right? And as that age gets, older and older at this end, then at the other end, they're just kind of dying off. So anyway, elsewhere in this interview, it's quite an interesting one. He says that the Tory party, bear in mind, this is his party, right? This isn't like a member of the Labour Party criticising the Conservatives. This is a Conservative MP saying that the party has lost its way and it is fueled by division, which, I don't know if that's totally fair, fueled by division. I mean, it's fueled at least in part by donors, right? Next up, we get to tax cuts. This is obviously a recurring story, constantly in the news for the last couple of weeks. There's a lot of expectation from the Conservative Party, from their members, from the columnists of the Telegraph, the Express, and so on. All of them are pushing for tax cuts, a return to Conservative doctrine. We're supposed to be the party of low taxation. How come we got the highest tax burden in bloody 70 years? To which the only sane response is, and I apologise to, followers of mine who hear me endlessly harp on about this, but the only sane responses to that question, which is rolled out again and again and again, only sane responses are the national debt, which you need to keep paying money to service because you were reckless with the public finances, and because when it wasn't that, when you weren't over-borrowing or not servicing the debt or not paying down the debt, you were funneling billions out and sending it over to your mates in the contracts. Like, honestly, it doesn't matter how many times you explain it to people on Twitter, you clap back to journalists. I assume that they hear it, they read it, they absorb it, and then it sort of, disappears out of their mental periphery. And then a week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, somebody talks about taxes, and then they're like, yeah, we should lower the taxes. And everyone's like, no, we talked about this like less than a month ago. I solved this already. Another big story overnight has been that Jeremy Corbyn is launching legal action against one Nigel Farage. Like, what do we think he actually said about him? I don't think that's been revealed yet. I don't think any of the court papers have been published. I think it's still very ambiguous what specifically he is suing Nigel Farage for having said. I mean, it's easy to sort of laugh at this, isn't it? It's easy to crack a smirk at a story like this. You see Nigel Farage is in financial trouble again, and he's someone you don't like. So that makes you feel good that he's going through a bad moment, financially speaking. But I just want to be really clear with you guys here, right? I don't think that we should laugh or smirk at Nigel Farage like about this now. I think we should absolutely wait. I think we should absolutely reserve all of our guffaws and laughs and hysterics until the moment he's actually bankrupted, and we get to see him publicly soil himself all over again when they actually close his accounts, like zero them. Like, imagine that. Imagine, like, Coots close your account and you drag their name through the mud and you get was it like the CEO that he got her fired? You got half of Fleet Street cheering you on, going, yeah, Nigel, you show them. You show these globalist banks. And he comes out feeling victorious. Only for then, 8 months later, 10 months later, Corbyn's like, yep, this is what you get. Like, open his bank statement, it's like closed, pre-closed for him. And he'd be like, I mean, I've only just got the bloody thing open again. Finally, I suppose we should talk about this Mukhtar Lawrence Fox thing. Shouldn't we? Should we talk about that for a minute? So, I don't know who follows him on Twitter or whatever, but there's this guy, I Am Mukhtar, I think his handle used to be. And it's a really funny story. Like, I sort of started following this a few months ago. I saw it sort of bubbling up on Twitter, and I jumped straight on. I followed everybody involved. And basically, the nuts and bolts of it are this. So, Lawrence Fox said a thing, and then Mukhtar replied back and called him a racist. And then Lawrence Fox threatened him with legal action. He was like, you better retract what you just said. And I want to see an apology. Like, he was really, like, forceful with him. Now, I think if that was me, I probably would have backed down. Because I'm a cowardly piece of shit. I would have been like, all right, okay. Did I not tell you guys I'm a massive Lawrence Fox fan? Oh, he's amazing. Like, some of you watching this will be like, oh, yeah, don't you have principles, Aid? Really? You'd back him. You just back straight down. Don't you have principles? No, I have bills. Okay? I got a mortgage and a house I've barely clung on to. It would be a travesty if I then just lost it in a legal case over calling someone something, sloppy and haphazard. Anyway, that's just me. Mukhtar is not me, clearly. And what Mukhtar did instead was he replied back with, suck your mum. And then Lawrence Fox, by this point, they're DMing each other. And Lawrence Fox says, I would strongly encourage you to take this seriously. I want an apology. I want blah, blah, blah. And Mukhtar says, suck your mama or something. And, he's basically just putting his balls on the table. He's like, fuck you, right? And at every juncture, Lawrence Fox is like, well, I tried, but I will be serving you with legal papers very soon. And Mukhtar replies back again, and he says something like, he goes, hey, I said what I said with chest All right, you do what you got to do. Like, really ballsy. Like, some of you who follow me on my podcast and my other stuff, you might know that I'm into, like, 90s hip-hop, right? Big fan of Tupac. Love that sort of underdog, balls on the table brashness. Can't get enough of it. Can't, like, somebody like this, pushing back against somebody who thinks they know better, who comes from privilege. Oh, delicious. So anyway, he pushes back and then he eventually does get served with papers and the whole thing goes up to the court. Anyway, last night, or today as I'm recording this, but last night for you guys when you see this, Lawrence Fox was forced to basically step back from that entire case. He says, apparently, allegedly, reportedly, he says he has voluntarily, like, discontinued the case. That was his words. And Mukhtar shared his thing. He's been sharing, like, DMs and, like, images of, like, messages and stuff that he's been, like, the whole time. And there's been no discretion at all from Mukhtar, which I love. And so anyway, Mukhtar shared his thing and he's like, what Lawrence Fox has just claimed is false and defamatory himself. He has not just discontinued his case against me. He's agreed to it being dismissed. He also agreed to pay thousands in legal costs to drop the claim. He has lawyers. He knows what dismissal means. Fox lost. And so anyway, yes, I think that was worthy of a little mention, man. That's I'm sending out some love to Mukhtar. And obviously, Twitter being Twitter, it is now awash with suck your mum graphics and, you know, all of the other stuff that you would expect from Twitter. Anyway, that's it from me. Graham will be back with you very soon, I'm very sure. If you'd like to hear more from me, do come over to my channel, say hello, take care of yourselves, and have a good Tuesday. Peace.